Hello, America. Thank you so much for listening. We have some sad news. Dolly Parton's sister has asked the world to pray for the country star. She has canceled all of her concerts and her appearances, and apparently she is suffering from health challenges. We don't know exactly what it is, but, I mean, Dolly Parton, how can you possibly say anything bad about Dolly Parton? Dolly Parton is one of those just icons of America. That I think universally everybody loves, even if you don't like country music. She's just a sweet, sweet lady. So pray for Dolly Parton and her health. There's a couple of other things that I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about gold. I want to talk to you about what, by the way, it's $4,000 an ounce. That should be very concerning. We'll talk about that. I also want to talk to you about the Hamas flags that were flying in New York City yesterday, not just the Hamas flag, but also the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. That flag actually says "Glory to our martyrs."
So Mamdani had another rally. What's the
yeah, I know.
What's the problem with that? He's running for mayor.
I know. They are now. They were talking yesterday about the protesters said they were acting from the belly of the beast. Remember, we're the great Satan. Israel's a little Satan. This is Islamic Jihad. And we now have Americans engaging in standing up and waving Islamic Jihad flags. Look at the size of this crowd in New York. I will never look at the Palestinian flag again the same way after seeing Dinesh D'Souza's his new movie about the what is it, the mystery of the dragon or something?
Yeah, prophecy.
Yeah, the prophecy of the dragon, and it comes from the Book of Revelation, and it's the white horse, the red horse, black horse, the green horse, all the colors of the Palestinian flag, and there are so many different things in the Bible. The Bible actually uses the word Hamas. Look it up. It's crazy. It uses the word Hamas as destruction and death. And Gaza is all over in the Bible too. But I don't know. But anyway, so how do you feel about the people on the streets? If we were truly living in a dictatorship, if we were living in a country where we had a dictator who would just not allow anybody to say anything, we wouldn't be talking about Jimmy Kimmel. We would be talking about the rounding up of people who are carrying Islamic terrorist flags and shouting slogans for Islamic jihad in our own country. That's what a dictator would do. He would stop that speech. Am I wrong? I mean, what's more dangerous, Jimmy Kimmel? What's more un-American, Jimmy Kimmel or Islamic Jihad? You're calling for the death of Jews. I mean, that is so unbelievably un-American. But just like we did in the 1930s, we let the Nazis walk in the streets, in the 1930s. And they held a big rally in Madison Square Garden. If you've never seen it, it's the American Bund movement, B-U-N-D. It is frightening. Nazis were everywhere, especially in the German communities of the Northeast. And they held rallies. They, imaged George Washington next to Adolf Hitler. It was crazy stuff. Crazy. Well, we learned. We learned what Nazis were, and those Nazis went away. I hope this goes away. At least from the stupid people that don't know what they're doing. Oh, I'm just marching, because the Palestinians are, oppressed. Can you do a little more thought, put a little more thought into this at all? Who are you standing with? The reason why I bring this up today is not only was it, what did they call this yesterday? The New York flood? I can't remember. can't remember exactly what they called it. I just saw it. Glory to our martyrs, blah, blah, blah. They had called to flood New York City. That's what it was. This protest, they said, flood New York City. Well, that is an exact reference to the Operation Al-Aqsa flood, which is what that operation was on October 7th, a flood. They called it a flood. Again, Book of Revelation, the dragon unleashes a flood. I personally like to know who these people are. I personally like to be able to say, okay, do you know who you're standing with? Do you know who's supporting you? Do you know who's funding all of this? And I like to make the case. And I don't want to ever kick these people off of the streets. You have a right. But I thought we lived in a dictatorship and we didn't have freedom of speech. Let me show you something where we don't have freedom of speech. Is counseling freedom of speech? This is what was in front of the Supreme Court yesterday. It comes from Colorado. Colorado has a ban on conversion therapy. 2019, they passed a law. Counselors cannot try to change a minor client's gender identity or sexual orientation, including behaviors or gender expressions. I mean, you want to talk about freedom of speech? I can't try to change your behavior? What is the point of going to church? Okay. Can't try to change behaviors or gender expressions or sexual identity or orientation. It does permit, it has an exception. The counselor can offer assistance to a person undergoing gender transition. So you can help them one direction, you just can't help them the other direction. Now, Kaylee Childs, she is a licensed counselor in Colorado. She's in Colorado Springs. God bless her heart. And she specializes in addiction, trauma, sexuality, gender dysphoria, and other mental health concerns. She's a Christian, and she serves clients who are seeking religiously informed care that aligns with biblical teachings, especially on sexuality and gender. Now, prior to 2019, she was fine. She counseled clients, including minors, and she would say, you know, this is what the Bible says, this is how you do it, and she would help people, you know, with their gender dysphoria. Now, once the law passed, she stopped all discussion with minors, everything else. She's abiding by the law. However, she has a lawsuit. That's the court case that the Supreme Court heard yesterday. Does counseling count? Or is counseling freedom of speech? Can I not counsel based on my religious dictates? Colorado says no. This is going to be a huge case. Let me tell you some things that I absolutely believe. And I can say them today. But if this court case goes the wrong way, will I be allowed to say these things? These are things I absolutely believe. I believe that marriage between a man and a woman is ordained by God, and the family is central to the Creator's plan for eternal destiny of his children. Believe it. I believe all human beings, male and female, are created in the image of God. Each of us is a beloved spirit, a son or daughter of God. We have divine nature, destiny, and gender is an essential characteristic of individual eternal identity and purpose. Any of this controversial today? The first commandment that God gave to Adam and Eve was pertaining to parenthood. Husband and wife, go have children. God's commandment of go and multiply and replenish the earth has never been revoked. So that is our first commandment from God. Replenish the earth. Have children. God commands that procreation, the powers that he gives us. This is the only thing where we can truly create the way the Creator does, where we partner with him and our bodies and our spirits, and we make children. And that should only be used between a man and a woman, lawfully wedded as husband and wife. Life, the sanctity of life, is everything to God's eternal plan. Husband and wife have a responsibility to love and care for one another and their children. You have a sacred duty to rear your children in love, in righteousness, to provide for their physical and spiritual needs, to teach them love, serve one another, observe the commandments of God, be law-abiding citizens wherever they live. Mothers and fathers, if you don't do this, you're going to be held accountable because it is your highest calling. This is your obligation. Is this controversial? Marriage between a man and a woman, the basic building block of all life in the universe, is male and female creating life. That tells me that's an eternal truth. You don't create life with male and male. The universe collapses male and male, female and female. So the universal truth, the way man was created, the truth is male and female to create children. And that is an eternal plan. And every time we break that plan, every time we decide that we're just going to have sex outside of matrimony, outside of the family, every time you break mom and dad and child, every time you don't honor your marital vows, it hurts all of society. Happiness, and we all know this, happiness is best achieved when you're just living the principles of Christ. You've got man and woman, both lawfully wedded, and they're creating children, and they're both trying to do the right thing, following God. Repentance, forgiveness, respect, love, compassion, work, all of this stuff. There will come a time, because all of this stuff comes from the Bible. There will come a time where I can't have the freedom of speech to say those things. That will be deemed hate speech. That's what's in front of the Supreme Court yesterday. We have people in black robes deciding whether that can be said by me, by you, by a counselor, by a priest. In Colorado today, that counselor cannot sit down with that minor and say what I just said. It's against the law in Colorado. Is that the freedom that the left is preaching for? Yes, that is their definition of freedom. Their definition of freedom is counselors can't say those things. You can't say those things. Churches can't say those things. That's all hate speech. We should kill people who disagree with us. That's the society that the left is offering you. No, thank you. No, thank you. And no matter what the punishment is, I won't stop saying those things because I believe them. And I can't change what I believe because I believe them. It's not something I just say. It's how I live my life. It's It's years and years and years of experimentation of that works, that doesn't. Wow, that hurts. Don't do that again. That's how I got my beliefs. I tore myself apart. What do you actually believe about God? And if you haven't done that, you don't really have a testimony. It requires you. But that only happens when life pushes you up against a wall. And that's why God is allowing a lot of this stuff to happen. He needs his children pushed up against the wall to wake up. What is true? What is worth standing for? What is worth dying for? What is worth living for? Find those things. You'll find Christ, you'll find God, and you'll find happiness, and we will find peace. Back in just a minute. You know the feeling you get when the door's locked, the lights are off, and everybody's safe inside? Imagine that feeling anywhere because you have a Byrna compact launcher. This is a non-lethal self-defense device designed to fit right into your bag, your glove box, even in your nightstand. It gives you peace of mind without ever needing a permit or a background check. The compact launcher fires powerful pepper rounds that can disable a threat from a distance, giving you a chance to get away, call for help, or just end the situation without escalating it. No bullets, no fatal mistakes, just a tool that works when it matters most. And it's legal in all 50 states. You can carry it confidently no matter where you are without living in fear. It's about knowing you're prepared. Imagine how different you will feel walking to your car, answering the doorbell, traveling with your family, going to college. You're not vulnerable anymore. The Byrna Compact Launcher. Go to Byrna, BYRNA.com/Glenn. Learn more. Byrna, BYRNA.com/Glenn. Go there now. Try before you buy at a Sportsman's Warehouse location near you. It's Byrna, BYRNA.com/Glenn. 10-second station ID. So the people arguing this in front of the Supreme Court is the Alliance Defending Freedom. We have their CEO in with us in just a minute. But make no mistake, we are deep in the fight for First Amendment rights. I mean, I'm going to the University of North Dakota tomorrow. I'm filling in for Charlie Kirk, and there's this great from the West Central Tribune up in North Dakota. Sadly, Kirk was murdered in September. Great article. During the similar event in Utah, now other ultra-conservative speakers are continuing the tour in Kirk's stead. Beck is nationally famous, blah, blah, blah. His views approach at the event at UND likely will be similar to what Kirk would have presented. Discussions about personal values, Republican viewpoints, not really. And we assume inviting debate. Beck's appearance will be blah, blah, blah. It has the potential to be controversial, which begs the question, why bring controversial speakers to campus in the first place? Because, as the University of North Dakota president Andrew Armacost said, it is important for us to foster the spirit of inquiry. Whether it's non-controversial ideas or controversial ideas, we need to have an open forum where our students, faculty, our staff, and in fact the whole community can see how civil discourse should be undertaken. So we welcome ideas. We need to make sure that the university remains a forum of ideas. Amen. I'll see you in North Dakota tomorrow.
This is Glenn Beck.
So the morning after October 7th, the world stood still. Remember what we were talking about 2 years ago on October 8th? The images, the story, the loss, it was all too much to take in. And for those in Israel, it wasn't just news, it was real life. Families huddled in shelters, communities shaken, entire neighborhoods forever changed. There was somebody on the ground in our name doing good. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, they were there already. And they just upped everything they did. They provided food, medicine, emergency shelters to families who had lost everything. They were providing, armored cars. Everything they were taking out of the darkness and putting it into the light, and something began to grow. It was the Flags of Fellowship movement. The flags flown by Christians and Jews together all over the world stand as a symbol of unity, compassion, and defiance against terror. They say, we stand with Israel, because faith isn't really measured by what we do when the world is at its best. It's measured when the world is at its worst. Get more information on how you can help and be a part of Flags of Fellowship. Just go to ifcj.org. That's ifcj.org.
Every story we talk about every day is in the email newsletter. It's free at glennbeck.com.
Welcome to the Glenn Beck Program. I urge you to look at the economic signs that are everywhere. Yesterday, I told you gold was at a record. It just broke $4,000, and it was like $4,005. Today, it is $4,058, so it is on its way, over halfway, to $4,100. This is unprecedented. And there's lots of reasons for it. And we'll get into it in just a minute. Now, we've been talking about the right to free speech and the case that was heard in front of the Supreme Court yesterday. Is counseling free speech or not? Kristen Waggoner, she is the CEO and president, chief counsel of Alliance Defending Freedom, and they are at the forefront of this and so many other battles. Kristen, how are you? Welcome.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So, Kristen, tell me, how did it go yesterday? What signs, if any, did you get from the Supreme Court in their questioning on which way this might fall?
I think it went very well. I think just to understand the law that's at issue, the state of Colorado had passed a law that allows licensed counselors to encourage children to transition and identify as the opposite sex. But if a child instead wants to be comfortable with the body, the law says that the counselor can't talk to that child about that, and that child can't get the help that they need. And so the real issue is, does this violate the First Amendment? Is it viewpoint discrimination because one side is favored over another? And can the state peer into a counseling room and interfere in a private conversation?
So, I think it's a violation of all of those things. This one seems really easy to me. You can't do it one way and not the other. But the thing that really concerns me is this veers deeply into religious belief as well. I just, talked about some things that I believe, and gender is ordained by God. You don't get a pick. It's ordained by God. I believe that. You might not believe that, but I do. Am I not allowed to say that if I'm a counselor?
You're not in Colorado. If a child comes to you and says, I am feeling uncomfortable in my body, I would like to have a conversation, I would like to sit and listen and talk through these issues, and you in any way address behavior, sexual behavior, attractions, feelings, expressions, that is a violation of the law if you're encouraging them to live consistent with their sex. And
but wait, just so I understand clearly, if they come in and say the same thing and I say, you know what, you should try, let's just change your sex, that's fine?
Yes, that's actually in the law. It's in the law that you can affirm what their perceived gender identity, that gender transitions can be affirmed. And I think just to talk about the scope of the law, this law, a similar law is in place in about 20 other states. So again, Glenn, you're right to think about, how does this affect my family? If it was my child or my children's friends and I needed to get help, I would want an experienced professional that shares my beliefs also. And Kaylee Childs, our client at the Supreme Court, she is a Christian, and she does believe that God creates our bodies to be, they're wonderfully made, and wants to encourage children in this way, simply by listening and talking to them.
What are the ramifications if it goes the other way? If it stays with Colorado?
I think first and foremost, we need to realize that unjust laws like this, there is a human toll. And so we, of course, have to go to the children that cannot get the help that they need. The science tells us that 90% of all kids who are gender dysphoric, if they are able to just go through adolescence with listening and talking, that they will identify with their sex and live healthy and happy lives. But 97% of kids that even start with just social transition, those kids experience irreversible harm and become lifelong medical patients. So first and foremost, this issue has to be about our children and the future of our nation. And then second, think about the fact that an authoritarian government now has the power to come into private voluntary conversations and put certain topics off limits because they're pushing a radical ideology.
It's stunning to me how the left keeps calling our side authoritarian, and they just don't see the authoritarian nature of almost everything regarding speech with their side of the argument.
That's absolutely true. And I think there's manipulation in the language that's being used. I mean, what many people will probably read in their newspapers this morning is that this case was about so-called conversion therapy. They're labeling listening and talking to children as conversion therapy. And so, again, it's just a manipulation of language to, I think, deceive the public and to push an ideology onto families that is just bringing great devastation.
What is the definition of conversion therapy? Because when I hear that, I think of the Dark Ages. You will submit. Right. That's not the same. What is the definition of conversion therapy?
The law actually spells it out. It's in the plain language of the statute, and it says it's any practice, any treatment that would seek to change an identity, and not just an identity, but also including minimizing or changing gender expression, gender attractions or sexual feelings, as well as behaviors. So you simply can't have a conversation that would do any of those things without violating the law. And then later the statute expressly again says, but if you're transitioning a child, that's acceptable, and affirming that child is acceptable. And again, these are voluntary conversations, right? So Colorado, at age 12 in Colorado, you can go have a mastectomy without a child can consent to a mastectomy at age 12, but they cannot consent to a conversation to say, I want to live at peace with my body.
That's insane. So does this will bleed into our churches and everything? If this is strengthened by the Supreme Court, if this stands with the Supreme Court, it doesn't just stay there, does it? I mean, would it affect, could it grow into me as a parent? I can't say those things to my kids.
Well, yes. I mean, it already is, right? Like, we'll just look at Colorado now. We have multiple suits against the state of Colorado at Alliance Defending Freedom, forced pronouns that they are forcing business owners to use. We sued this last year over a camp this summer, a Christian camp that was told they had to put boys in the girls' cabin rooms. We have, of course, the cases involving, the business owners of Jack Phillips, but we have overnight accommodations in their public school policies where literally they're putting boys in girls' rooms without telling the parents or the children, asking them to share the same beds. So, yes, this whole ideology has become entrenched in the law, and it is one of our priorities to uproot it. But that takes all of us to do that.
Yeah. Kristen, thank you so much. What you guys do at Alliance Defending Freedom is remarkable. You are always on it, and I so appreciate it. If you are looking to support any group that is in the fight, actually in the fight, they were there at the Supreme Court yesterday, please give to adflegal.org, adflegal.org. Kristen, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet. Back in just a minute, let me talk to you a little bit about rough greens. Every dog owner knows, that, look, the one guy that says, is this really all I get? Shouldn't be your dog. You scoop the same dry brown, kibble into his bowl, and they eat it because they have to, not because they want to, because they are looking at you like, really? This is it? Here's the thing. That dry food is dead food. It's been cooked. It's been processed. It's been stripped of almost everything living inside of it because it has to be, by law, shelf stable for 2 years. You would never feed your kids anything as a steady diet that could last on the shelf for 2 years for their whole life, but we do it with our dogs. Rough Greens is not a dog food. It's a supplement. It's a live nutrient. Everything that's been cooked out is right there in Rough Greens. And you sprinkle it on top of whatever you feed them. And it's loaded with vitamins, minerals, live enzymes, digestive enzymes, probiotics, antioxidants, all the good stuff that your dog's body is craving for and can't get from kibble alone. So see how amazing it really is and how fast you will see the difference. I want you to go to roughgreens.com, use the promo code Beck, RUFFgreens.com. Break the cycle today. You can get a Jumpstart trial bag. You just cover the shipping. It's free. You just go to Rough Greens, RUFFgreens.com, promo code Beck.
You know, our community is like a cozy campfire with trusted friends. That's a hell of a lot better than the raging dumpster fire of mainstream media. Glad to have you. Glenn Beck will be right back.
Well, there's a moment that kind of comes for lots of people, right? You're standing in front of the mirror, you're looking at the number on the scale, you're wondering how you got there again. Not because you didn't try, you did. Maybe you cut the carbs, or maybe you counted the calories, or you stuck to some routine. And for a while, it probably works. And then life happens, and suddenly the weight is not just back, it's brought friends. Losing and regaining weight, what doctors call weight cycling, can do real harm to your heart, your energy levels, your long-term metabolism as well. Breaking that cycle isn't just about willpower, it's about having the right support. And that's where Lean comes in. This isn't like just some quick fix. Lean is a non-prescription oral supplement. It's developed by medical professionals to support healthy blood sugar, curb your cravings, and help your body use stored fat a little bit more efficiently. There's not needles, there's no waiting rooms, there's just targeted support in capsule form designed to work with your body instead of fighting against it. And if you've been stuck in the revolving door of weight loss and gain, maybe it's time for something different, something that helps you step forward and then actually stay there. If you want to lose weight at a meaningful and healthy pace, keep it off as well. Use Lean. Add it to your diet and exercise lifestyle. Get 20% off when you enter the code BLAZE as you check out. It's takelean.com. Lean. Takelean.com. The code is BLAZE.
This is crazy, but there is this, I think it's the 3I Atlas space rock, the interstellar object that's coming our way. And I am convinced we are going to be told that aliens are coming our way.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I don't know.
You're convinced?
I'm convinced. I'm not saying they are. I'm saying we're going to be told aliens are on the way.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And this object is huge, and it's been traveling forever. And we saw it at great distance, and at first it looked like it was a comet. Then they realized it was a rock of some sort, maybe not a comet. Now, it just is coming around Mars, and so we can get, close enough looks at it, and it doesn't have the tail that a comet has. When a comet is going through, gas and everything else is flying off, and so they have this tail. This doesn't have a tail, and the pictures that they released this weekend it's a perfectly shaped cylindrical object. Okay, did you see that, Sarah? Did you see the pictures? I mean, right? I mean, sharp corners on it.
It looks like a Tic Tac.
It does. Well, there's not sharp corners.
Well, but it does.
Perfectly rounded. You're saying
it's perfectly rounded, but on the edges, I think it had the corners on the two ends. But it's perfectly shaped. It does not look natural. Okay. Now they're saying, and this is like Harvard, astrophysicist and everything else. They're saying in 1977 there was something called the wow signal, and it was noted by some astrophysicists who were listening. I think it was called the Big Ear or something like that. Where we were listening for signals from space. 1977, something happens, and it's called the wow signal because on the readout, the paper, the scientist that was working just highlighted it and went wow, because it was an unnatural signal. It was a very strong signal, a burst of a message or something that was not natural. So they didn't know what it was. It never repeated itself, and so they just said, well, it's the wow signal. Don't know what that was. But now they're looking back, and they've pinpointed where that wow signal, because they knew where that wow signal came from, and they've taken the trajectory of this object, and they've put it back into time, 1977, and they're saying it's a 0.6% chance that the signal did not come from that exact space. Where
so
that
over a 99% chance it did.
Over a 99% chance that it came from where that object was in 1977. Okay,
so they're not saying for sure it was some piece of
if you're paying attention to this, it just keeps building into something. I don't know how they're going to back up. It's at Mars, so I don't know how they're like, because they're like, look at it. This is not natural. This is perfectly formed. It's not natural. We don't know what it is, yada, yada, yada. And nobody seems to be paying attention to it. Now, I'm not saying that it is alien life. Look at it. Yeah, it does look more like a Tic Tac. Yeah, look at there it is. But look at that. It's straight lines.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very blurry, faraway picture, though. I mean,
yeah, let's see. They also say what's coming off of it is, I'm trying to remember what they said it was, but it's not giving off, it's giving off things that are like alloys, or I can't remember what it was. Did you read that, Sarah? It's giving off something that is an alloy that would be like a hardened ship. I mean, I don't know any of this if it's true, but I just feel like we're being prepared for aliens are coming. We should all band together and get your digital ID because they're coming. And this digital ID and the new currency is all going to be, that's what's going to save us from these aliens. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but we're living in a crazy world.
I would agree with that. I'll also say that if it does look like a Tic Tac, it looks like one of those white ones that starts out with a delicious vanilla and then turns into that terrible mint. Like, why not just make one that's just that delicious vanilla? Why can't I have that? That doesn't make any sense at all.
I'm not up on my mint controversy, so I don't know.
I mean, it's not a controversy; it's settled science in my mind. But whatever. No, it's interesting. I mean, some of the pictures you can't tell what's a recreation, what isn't. Like, there's some on some of these NASA sites I'm glancing at that don't look as perfectly rounded as the sort of picture does there. So maybe they do think it's a rock still. I don't know. I also will say the trajectory of it does seem like it's going to pass. Not pretty close to us, like it's going to hit us, but like close enough, we're going to get a real nice view of it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Especially when it's firing down its lasers at us. We'll see. Well, it's
we'll
very
see.
bright.
It'll be beautiful.
That will light up the skies very nicely.
Very nice. Very nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll have that.
I think the last time it went around something, I don't remember, was not affected by gravity.
Oh.
They're like,
wow.
How is that happening?
But it's not, why not have another?
A lot of this stuff is coming from Harvard, but I don't know if I believe Harvard anymore. It's really, we just live in interesting times. Really interesting times.
I can't wait to see how this all turns out.
Right? Can't wait to see exactly what happens in the next few years. All right. Back in just a second.
This is Glenn Beck.